Are we about to have a summer full of non-stop protests? Well, it looks like we may be heading that way because over this weekend we have seen protests popping up all across the country outside migrant hotels. This probably has been sparked by the recent protests that we have seen outside of the Bell Hotel in Epping, one of which did turn nasty with a bit of rioting going on. Most people who came were peaceful protesters, but then Antifa turned up, some thugs turned up to counter them, and it all got a bit messy. And now we are seeing more and more protests happening across the country. The picture you're seeing on screen now is from Norwich, where people are protesting, and you'll see a couple of photographs of individuals on people's signs that they're holding up there of people who have been convicted of some horrific crimes who are staying in the local hotel there. It seems people very much are primarily concerned with these protests about the safety of women and children. I'm going to show you a couple of videos from a guy called Jack Hadfield and from Sky News of what is going on in Norwich.
I'm here in Norwich at a protest at the Brook Migrant Hotel. This protest is obviously continuing after we've seen what was happening in Epping. Across the country, I was at the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf. There's been protests in Ashfield. Now, here at the Brook Hotel, there have been two migrants. Exactly, my friend here says.
We've had enough. Yeah, get them out.
That is,
stop the boats.
That is the sentiment from everybody here in the crowd, where two migrants who stayed in this hotel, one was done for raping a girl, one was done for grooming a boy. But as you can see, so many people have turned out, just local people who are concerned about this. As you said, Dan Tespelul, who was jailed for 8 years and 2 months in Norwich. That's what people here are out protesting against on the streets, making their voices heard. Just not far right, just local people who are concerned about the safety of women and girls.
So there we go, that is what is going on in Norwich. We've got lots of people out there really concerned about the safety of women and children after you've had people jailed who stayed in that hotel there for rape and another some sort of a sexual crime involving a young child as well. Let's take a look at what Sky News have got. They've got some interesting vox pops where they've been talking to lots of people protesting there today.
I'm not a racist by any means, I'm an ex-veteran, 10 years. At the end of the day, we've got homeless people camping here. I know homeless people from the forces. I get out of the forces, no dental treatment, I can't get doctors, they get everything. I'm all up for immigrants coming, but sign the paperwork. You show who you are, you come in, you abide by our laws.
They're in there, free rent, free everything. Do you know they're even getting meal tickets to go in that pub with after they've been supplying meals in there? Did you know that?
There were hundreds and hundreds of people here protesting outside the Brook Hotel. We're on the outskirts of Norwich, very much against the fact that asylum seekers are being put up. On the other side of the road, on the other side of the roundabout, was a group of people very much in support of those people who've come to this country, many of them on small boats.
So you've got their videos of the crowds, and my understanding is that you had mostly peaceful protests here, but you had a few skirmishes kicking off, like is clearly happening there. And there you have the masked idiots taking place. They're doing their counter protest. I don't know exactly how well behaved or not so well behaved they were. Let's take a look at some other locations. So let's take a look at what is happening in Portsmouth. There you've got a picture. There you can clearly see both sides. You've got the stand up to racism crowd, and you've also got those with their stop the boats flags and whatnot there. So you've got it seems like in pretty much all these locations you've got people on both sides turning up. Stand up to racism have really worked hard to try and get huge crowds out to all of these places across the country. Not that I'm being nice about them. I think they're a crazy group of people, but they really have they've put their work in to try and bring out loads and loads of people against these protesters, against concerned mothers and parents mostly who just want their kids to be safe. They're not racists, most of them. Yeah, I'm sure you've got a few idiots there, but most of them, they're just concerned mothers, dads, members of the community who have seen some horrific things happen with some of the people staying in these hotels, and they've just had enough of it. Let's take a look at one video of what is going on in Portsmouth. So you can see big crowd from Stand Up to Racism there. All looks fairly civilised here. The police standing, it seems in most of these protests, the police are standing in between the two crowds, trying to keep them separate, because clearly what went so wrong at that hotel in Epping when you did have some rioting begin was the Antifa lot started mixing in with the people who were protesting against the hotel, and things got messy. So the police, their approach is very much to keep people separate. We've seen in Epping over the past few days them putting up big fences, a big gap of space, and basically keeping people in pens separate from each other depending on which side of the protest they are on. We've also got protests going on in places like Leeds as well. Here's a photograph of Leeds there. These guys with the, whatever you call it, coloured paint things, I've forgotten the name of them. I did see a video of them looking like they were getting pretty shouty. I don't know what happened to them, but those, yeah, it seems like in most of these protests, most people are protesting peacefully, but you do have a few idiots who are getting a bit shouty and getting a bit aggressive, and in some cases maybe that's breaking out in the odd bit of fighting, and you're having some people being arrested. But on the whole, these very much are protests happening. They are not riots, at least at this stage. We will see what happens. I hope that they stay as protests so that people are able to maintain their right to go out and make their voices heard without you know, the police having to make loads of arrests and people getting hurt and people getting injured, because we don't want that. You know, if you know, don't be tempted. I know people are angry and tensions are running high, but if you do decide that you want to go out to some sort of protest, keep it civil, keep it polite, else we will have our rights taken away from us. Let's take a look at a video from Leeds.
Right, so now you stopped it with Bungo Bingo. Can you also tell me why there's Ukrainian flags, Palestinian flags, all the flags above the fucking country, when there's none of them in here? You don't know what you're out here fighting for. You come into me, you idiot. You idiot. How the Ukrainians leave these hotels? Easy support. It's in Seacroft.
So quite hard to hear there what is going on. But there are a lot. What I'm trying to show you here is there are a lot of protests going on across the country. This is not something that has stayed isolated to one place in Epping. Of course, we have social media, which means that people very quickly see where protests are happening. They don't have to wait for it to happen and hear about it the next day in the paper. But of course, we're now hearing that the state is very, very concerned about that and is going to be monitoring social media for anti-migration posts. And there's a lot of concern that they're going to, well, we're already hearing some reports, I cannot confirm or deny, that people are having posts taken down, spreading information about protests, peaceful protests. So it looks like promoting a protest is now becoming something the police will clamp down on you for, which for me sounds quite concerning from a free speech perspective. I understand from the police's perspective, they would be happy if none of these protests were happening, but we have a right to free speech, and if people are going to go and protest peacefully, I think that's fine. I think that's absolutely fine. Maybe I'll get in trouble for saying that. If people are promoting rioting, that is another thing. Absolutely. If someone incites riots, then fine. Clamp down on them. That, you know, because riots involve violence, they involve people getting hurt, and that is not a good thing. But if people want to promote a protest, I don't see any problem with that. Let me know what you think of that in the comments below. I'm Dobbs. Thank you for watching this video, and press subscribe if you haven't already.